All right, folks, check this out. I have a really shocking story to bring to you tonight, one that I certainly wasn't expecting to see in the news, and I imagine that Donald Trump wasn't expecting it either. But Howard Lutnick, Donald Trump's Commerce Secretary, decided to go on the record for the New York Post in one of their many podcasts and talk about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein pretty extensively. Now, remember, Howard Lutnick used to live near Epstein in New York City. It's one of the many weird connections between Trump and the people around him to Jeffrey Epstein. And so in this interview, he spoke about some run-ins he had with him, a specific story, but he also provided a new theory as to where a lot of the Epstein evidence went. The FBI, Donald Trump himself, Trump's DOJ, has claimed that there were never any videos and that a lot of the files are no longer in their possession. And that leaves a lot of questions. Howard Lutnick apparently has a theory that he himself said he hasn't run by Donald Trump. So I think that's worthwhile to listen to. Now, before we get into all of these different clips, make sure to subscribe to the channel down below. It goes an incredibly long way. Make sure to like the video as well down below. Comment, let me know your thoughts. I want to apologize again for my absence recently. I've been very sick. I've been dealing with this really awful cold, but democracy can't wait. We shall persevere. I want to start with this video right here, where Lutnick describes a story where he was invited over to Jeffrey Epstein's house, his then neighbor, for a tour. And he kind of speaks about what he saw. And that leads us into our next clip where Lutnick talks about his new theory surrounding the evidence. You just got to hear that one. It's very strange. But let's start here. Without further ado, let's dive in.
He was your neighbor for 10 years. How well did you know him?
All right. So we are in number 11 and he lives in number 9.
Right.
So we renovate, we buy our house, and our house is pigeons and mice.
Right.
Okay. That's it. It was derelict.
Right.
So we rebuild our house. We move in 2005. Okay. Jeffrey Epstein is arrested in like 08, I think, or something like that.
Right. Right.
So knock on the door. His assistant on like a Saturday says, Mr. Epstein, your neighbor would like to invite you over for coffee. So my wife and I go next door. You know, we walk the 7 steps,
Yes.
right, to the next house for coffee. We share a wall,
Right.
right? So it's in New York City. So he invites us in. We have coffee in this, and he says, "Do you want a tour?" We said, "Great." He's
Interesting.
got a really big house.
Every room you went into?
He's got, well, I'll tell you. So his house is like super big, really wide. And, so he gives me a tour in the living room, big.
I just want to pause briefly and say he looks really uncomfortable right now. It almost kind of looks like he's lying. You know what I mean? He's just fidgeting a lot. He's moving a lot like this. He's just kind of all over the place. I don't know. To me, I could be looking into it too much, but he seems kind of nervous when he's telling this story. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you agree. We'll continue.
Living room. And then across from it is double doors. I assume it's the dining room.
Yeah.
And he opens the doors and there's a massage table in the middle of the room.
Ooh.
And candles all around and stuff. So I ask very insightful, cutting questions. I say to him, massage table in the middle of your house? How often do you have a massage? And he says, every day. And then he like gets like weirdly close to me.
Ooh.
And he says, and the right kind of massage.
Ooh.
Now my wife is standing here. So she looks at me and I look at her and we say, I'm sorry, we have to go. And we left. And in the 6 or 8 steps it takes to get from his house to my house, my wife and I decided that I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again.
Really?
So I was never in the room with him socially, for business, or even philanthropy. If that guy was there, I wasn't going because he's gross.
Just a reminder, the guy he's talking about right now is Donald Trump's former best friend. And I want you to think about something. Just envision this with me for a second. If Jeffrey Epstein, a guy who at the time, according to Howard Lutnick, didn't know him. Howard Lutnick just moved in with his wife. If Jeffrey Epstein was so comfortable with Howard Lutnick to show him around his house, show him the massage room where he committed many of his disgusting crimes. Do people really believe that Donald Trump had no idea? If Jeffrey Epstein's giving tours to people he just met, showing him where he's committing his crimes, do people really believe that Donald Trump saw none of that? That Donald Trump didn't see the massage table or didn't understand what was going on with Epstein? You know, one of the lawyers who represented victims in the Epstein case said that anybody around Jeffrey Epstein at the time would have seen him bring in around 2 to 3 young girls every single day, whether it be Florida, Paris, or New York City. And so if Donald Trump was just around Epstein, he absolutely, according to this attorney, who knows the case inside and out, he absolutely would have seen what was going on and what Epstein was doing. And if Epstein was showing Howard Lutnick, a guy he just met, his massage room, then I can only imagine what Donald Trump has seen. And so I don't think Howard Lutnick is doing Donald Trump any favors here. He's calling Epstein gross. This is the same guy who is friends with Donald Trump. This story is also the same story that Donald Trump called a hoax. So not a hoax anymore, right? At least according to Donald Trump's own administration. But let's move on to the other clip I wanted to show you, where he provides a new theory, his own theory, that he apparently has not run by Donald Trump as to where a lot of the evidence surrounding Jeffrey Epstein has disappeared to. So take a look at that clip. It's kind of a continuation of the story we just heard from him.
I mean, that's an incredible story that you could pick up that he was a pervert.
It's gross. The guy's gross. Right with my wife. And he's gross. The guy's gross. This was not, the deep nuance of Howard Lutnick. This guy's gross.
Right. So how come Bill Gates and all these other people could hang around him and not see what you saw? Or did they see it and ignore it? Or
no, they participated.
Right.
That's what his MO was, get a massage, get a massage. And what happened in that massage room, I assume was on video. This guy was the greatest blackmailer ever. Blackmailed people. That's how he had money. So
what happened to those videos? Why is there now such a dearth of information when, Donald Trump's people are running the FBI and the DOJ?
I assume way back when they traded those videos in exchange for him getting that 18-month sentence, which allowed him to have visits and be out of jail. I mean, he's a serial sex offender. How could he get 18 months and be able to go to his office during the day and have visitors and stuff? It must have been a trade. So my assumption, I have no knowledge, but my assumption is there was a trade for the videos because there were people on those videos.
And have you talked to Donald Trump about this and shared your theory?
No, I mean, he knows the story.
Right.
But my story that, I was the one and done with the guy. He knows that story, but that's it.
This interview, as we watch it more, just shapes up even worse for Donald Trump than I thought originally. It just kept getting worse and worse, especially that exchange where even this, New York Post reporter is asking the question, so how did all these people hang around him and not see what you saw? Now, of course, remember, they're still part of the New York Post. That is an arm of the Rupert Murdoch media army. So they'll never ask about Donald Trump being one of the people who was hanging around Jeffrey Epstein and who claims to not have seen anything. But Howard Lutnick then said, no, they participated. Is that like a subtle admission that Donald Trump was involved in what Jeffrey Epstein was doing? Howard Lutnick says the people that were hanging around Jeffrey Epstein participated. That's his position. Donald Trump is someone that hung around Jeffrey Epstein. So is that what he's saying? I mean, I just think this interview was just a total disaster for Lutnick, for the Trump administration, for Trump himself as an individual in this whole story. And then he kind of gives this weird theory that there was a trade for videos for him getting 18 months. I don't even know what he's trying to imply there, but that's where he believes a lot of the evidence surrounding Epstein has disappeared to. You can let me know in the comments whether you buy it, whether you think he is right about the evidence. But I just think this exchange specifically, where he's asked about people who hung around Epstein, and then he said, no, they participated. That in and of itself is damning for Donald Trump. I will leave the video there. Just had to show you these two different clips. I think they're really stunning. Make sure to subscribe to the channel down below. It goes an incredibly long way. Drop a like on the video, comment. Let me know what you think about the story. And as I always say, I greatly appreciate you, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.